Afternoon, ladies and gents. You are looking at the church of All Hallows-by-the-Tower. That's this view of it. I shall pause you for a minute because I've got to cross the road to get the nicer view. I don't want to be crossing back over and crossing back over again. So I shall see you in a minute. Welcome back. This one, massive damage in the Second World War, so heavy rebuilding and restructuring. What looks new is, after the Second World War, what looks old is, for the most part, original, what they was able to salvage. The main part, this is part one. I always film the outside of churches once I filmed the inside. It may seem odd, but doing it that way gives you more time to film inside, because they don't close the outside of churches, so you're good to go. And what you're seeing first is sort of House End Upwards was filmed last, filmed hours after the first bit, because I've been and had my lunch and everything, and it's actually more approaching, I said good afternoon, it's more approaching evening time. But the main thing is the statues. Welcome back. After crossing one of Mr. Khan's delightful road systems, taking life and limb literally into your own hands, as they say. All Hallows. This is Malta, the siege of Malta. This memorial, Malta, GC, the George Cross, the siege of Malta, 1940 to 1943. Pause and read, as I say. Right, I'm back to All Hallows because I want to try and keep this one short and sweet. All this brickwork stuff that you see here is post-war, and some of this at the back here is modern, like very modern. You've got the Queen Elizabeth's Queen Mother Centre, which is like a cafe type area. And that was built in, I think, in 2000, in the millennium, I believe. This church was founded in 675 AD, the oldest church in the city. It's the oldest religious foundation in the city. The oldest actual standing church in the city is St Bartholomew's the Great. This is a massive restructuring after the war damage, and even the old stuff here, most of that is 14 and 1300s and whatnot. St Bart's the Great takes the crown of being the oldest standing parish church. This has been a church on this site for a lot longer. So when they say oldest church, that's what they mean, really. Bit of rivalry there going on between St Bart's the Great and this place, because each one claims to be the oldest church in London. So you work that out if you will. Gloucester Court, Tower Hill Terrace. This is where you get some nicer views of the church from here. And another little nod to the past, long past, which we'll see in a minute. This is obviously underneath here is shops and a KFC and such. Here you've got the other side of the church. That looks nice. The sunset clouds behind it. Then you've got the cheese grater there. So you've got old and new. Ah, dash it all. Someone's sitting on it. But the nod to the long past is a bench that celebrates the Battle of Agincourt. And this bit under here, I do believe, is abandoned. So yeah, we'll find having a look at that. Right out of the way, that man's cough does not sound healthy. Well, no cough sounds healthy, but that sounds particularly unhealthy. Oh, he's clear enough now. I'll let the air clear for a couple of minutes. Do not want a dose of whatever he's got. Hinged as well, that. Interesting. Sir Follett Holt, first chairman of the Tower Hill Improvement Trust, died 20th of March 1944. And here we are. 1415, 2015, Agincourt. Henry V fame. Right, ladies and gentlemen, that begins your tour of the church, anyone that watches the video, and concludes mine really, because I should be going home soon. But as I say, I do a lot of it arse end upwards, because I do the inside of the church first and then you can just film the outside whenever, as long as it's still daylight. So yeah, done 2 churches today, and the crypt of this one is nearly an hour long, so I will do it in separate parts, but it's well worth watching, because with my old phone you didn't catch very much of it at all, but with this one the quality is superb. And there's Roman, Saxon stuff down there. You get to walk on a Roman pavement. Let's take you over here. I'll keep this one to about 10 minutes. So about 15 or 20 foot down, so one can get oneself an extendable ladder. Going there, it'd be interesting. Two of London's greatest icons right next to each other. There we are. And it ends you back at what we're coming for today. Alright, hope you all enjoy what you're going to watch. If you do, please give it a like and a share. Take care all, and see you inside the church. Greetings my lord and ladies, hope you find you well. I've done this one before, but with basically a crap smartphone. The inside, like the upper bit of the church, was fine, but the crypt, which is my favourite bit, you could barely see anything of, literally barely see anything of. This is All Hallows-by-the-Tower, sometimes known as All Hallows Barking, because it was a daughter church of Barking Abbey. I love this map. Map of London. Southwark, Southwark. Winchester House. St Mary Overy, which is now Southwark Cathedral. It was the Church of St Mary Overy then. Old London Bridge. London Bridge, look with all the heads of the traitors on the spikes. Real fine and pretty. London Bridge had chapels on it and was, interestingly enough, the first place in England, I believe it may have been the first place in the world to actually have official public toilets, which emptied straight into the Thames, which was nice. Church, and if you're born within the sound of those bells, you can call yourself a Cockney, a true Cockney. Old St Paul's Cathedral, and by the time this map was done, Old St Paul's had lost its spire in a lightning strike. And the Thames, you see so many little boats here, because like you see the very busy road out here now, this was the highway of its time. It was the easiest way to move around London, and you'd go to many of the hundreds of river steps like you see here. Call a boatman and he'd take you upstream, downstream or over. And on the Southwark side is where all the naughtiness was, known as the Southwark stews. Brothels, theatres like the Globe here. Bear garden, which was a bear pit, bear baiting, which was very, very wicked. Of course, different times though back then. So windmills. And this church, like the one we've just been to, was massively damaged in the war. It says in the crypt the date of this map. I can't find it on here, but it does say that downstairs. Different world was London back then, so that's old London. I like that map. Now we're going to go into the church itself. And as I said, interestingly enough, this church was a daughter church of Barking Abbey. It was founded by Barking Abbey, this church. St Margaret's Church at Barking and this church both remain, but the abbey is just ruins now. I don't know if you can hear that rumbling noise, but it is trains. St. Anthony of Egypt is a very old statue in there. It's covered up at the moment. Funny enough, a couple of the churches I've been to recently, the holiest statues, some of them are covered up. So it may be something to do with Easter, possibly. And the stained glass in here will pretty much, most of the architecture in here is post-war, because this was really, really gutted out in the war badly, but as you can see they've done a lovely job. Oops. It's me bumping into things again. Well, I've nearly knocked a candelabra over again today, so why not? Sarah Lidcott. And in there is where the host, the communion host, and the wine and the bread will be kept. One of the most sacred areas in a church. Only the most important people could be buried by an altar. And to be buried at the left side of an altar is normally the founder. And this is an altar tomb. So more than likely the person that refounded this church, because the first religious institution was founded in like the 600s or 800s, something like that. But this is like 1400s, this. This is going to be someone very, very important. More than likely the founder. And the art piece is covered up there as well, so it must be something to do with Easter. And the pulpit. As I say, I always do the sides of a church first and then the main body after. Bracket clock, very nice one. And would have come from a big fancy house as well, that, because it's got a lock on it. I love clocks, one of my things. Philip Thomas Bayard Clayton. CHMCDDFSA 1885 to 1972. It's the architecture in these places that's one of the most amazing things. Founder, Padre of Talbot House, Tock H. Operating 1915, All Hallows. The Tock H is the Tock H Women's Society, but we'll see more of that in the crypt. And this Last Supper is very, very beautiful. I mean, it was painted in the 50s, but looks very old, looks old. It's an amazing piece of work by Brian Thomas. There'll be the old medieval memorials, these, the brass. About 1200 to early to mid 1500s with the kind of memorials. And if you can hear the rumbling noise, it is trains, and as I said, I don't know if I did say that, but I'm saying it now. British Trident. Trent, sorry. I did that last time as well, I kept my own nose. British Trent, this spell is in memory of the 9 seafarers who lost their lives on the British Trent after a collision in the southern North Sea on the 3rd of June 1993. And this is one of the very, very old memorials, and it's so damaged because of the destruction and fire in the war. This place was hit by bombs and fire bombs, I believe. Burnell, and that woman died in childbirth. I remember from my last visit. And here you have in a minute a very, very sacred area. I'll show you in a sec. We'll catch the stained glass first. Beautiful stained glass, really lovely. Oh, well, that's lovely. I didn't manage to get that last time. And the baptistry. This arch is a Saxon arch, which they copied a lot. Their engineering as good as they got, the Saxons, they copied off of the Romans. We'll see a little bit more of that in a minute. And this is the Grinling Gibbons font cover. And that'll be lowered up and down on that chain. And here it was, the Saxon arch. You can pause and read this yourself. Amazing to think the history that this arch has seen, and the people that would have walked under it, and that you can touch the arch like as a living piece of history. And the title of our page is Living History Page, so yeah, there we go. First Steps by John Robinson. And this is the Adoration of the Magi, School of Peter Paul Rubens, circa 1650 to 1690. Just pause and read, pause and read. Parish chest. Now the pièce de résistance, which is the high altar and the main body of the church. I like that ship there. The organ loft and the Royal Arms. The Queen being the head of the Church of England. The Royal Arms is in every Church of England church. Pulpit. And what I was going to show you, once again got waylaid, or waylaid myself, is the First World War Memorial. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Which I remember without having to read, but they shall grow not old as we, that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. The going down of the sun, and in the morning we will remember them. That's what it says on the other side. The Foster Memorial, dedicated to the fallen of the First World War. This memorial bears the unnamed effigy of Lieutenant Alfred Henry Foster, the 2nd Royal Scots Greys, 2nd Dragoons Royal Scots Greys. And under here is another statue, and this one's from 1510, and it's the figure of St. Roch or Roche, but they're all covered up because I think it's something to do with Easter, I believe. Well, that's the upper bit of the church done. I shall go and pop a donation in the thing. Hopefully the toilet is open because I need to use that, and then we'll go and have a look at the crypt. So I'll see you all in that one, guys and girls, and do it something nice. Be careful not to bang into anything. Just quickly, out of interest, that memorial there is to 2 ex-parishioners, and one of them donated the church silver that the mass is done with here. It's in the museum downstairs, which we'll see soon. Right, hope you all found that interesting. If you did, please give it a like and a share, and I'll see you in the crypt in the next instalment.